Good morning, everyone. I'm Bill Vick, and this is my monthly You Are Not Alone. And we are not alone today because we have John Asher. John Asher is an incredible individual running two major companies. John was a United States Naval Academy graduate, captain of several nuclear submarines, uh, formed his own business and worked with a company that worked with the government for many years, one of the top Vistage speakers and all of Vistage, and runs two companies, Asher Sales and Asher Longevity Institute. And I think you sleep maybe 2 or 3 hours a night at least, right, John?
Based on longevity, eight.
I know that. I do know that. But anyway, welcome, John. I'm so happy to have you here. And how is the world treating you today?
Great, Bill. Life is good. In our Longevity Institute,
Yeah,
the founders, none of us have any intention of ever dying.
I hear that, and I am and stand in awe, but I can tell you the information you provided to me and some of the research that's going on and some of the things you can do to really take care of yourself. I'm not saying you're wrong. I think you very
Oh,
much might be right.
there is an avalanche, a tidal wave of new information. There
Hmm.
are at least six techniques, protocols, technologies available today. Each one of them can give us proven that they can give us an extra decade of healthy life. Now, some of them may be concurrent or overlapping,
Hmm.
but still eight different techniques to live healthier and longer for a decade is really amazing. And now you throw in AI and throw in quantum computing. It's really
What
unbelievable.
what
The
it
future is
sounds like
mind-boggling.
the future has arrived, John.
The future, to think there could be an unlimited life of great health is mind-boggling, really.
I love it. I love the thought. I hope it does happen. Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to talk with you about your tech and Vistage membership. And you were a member in Washington, D.C. for 9 years. How did that work out for you?
Well, my last job in the Navy, I was a buyer in the Pentagon for 5 years. And when you're a buyer in the Pentagon, it was a major program. $10 billion program back then. Back then, 10 billion was a lot of money. And so you
Yeah.
have three jobs. You're the buyer, of course. Your staff puts out RFPs and RFQs, and defense
Hmm.
contractors bid on them, and you pick one. You're the program manager. You manage the program. And three, you are totally 100% a salesperson. You have to fight off budget cuts. You have to demonstrate the efficacy of your program. You got to keep all the stakeholders, the CIA, the Navy, the Department of Defense informed on a continuing basis.
Oh, yes.
And if you cannot sell, you are replaced as a program manager. So
At
based
every
on
level
that,
of, yeah, John,
at every
at every
level,
level of interaction that you had with the Pentagon and the bureaucracy, you had to be able to sell effectively to that individual, that department, that part of the administration.
luckily I had two bosses, both admirals, who were great sales guys, and they taught me how to sell. So when I left the Navy, I knew I had to start to do something that would have to do with sales. So I started a little engineering company with two really smart naval officers. They had PhDs, physics and double E. And we're just selling back to our friends in the Navy, right? How hard can that be? And so we grew about
Exactly.
15% per year. We got up to about 10 million and we stalled. I joined Vistage. 9 years later, we're 165 million. And a big
Unbelievable
company,
growth. Wow. Wow.
a big company wanted, so we kind of suddenly sold it. So we went from 15% per year, joined Vistage, 42% per year. That's just an example of what's possible when you join Vistage.
The ROI is what we always tell potential new members of a CEO peer group. It's what you should focus on. It's not what it costs you, it's what you can ultimately realize from the program. And your experience is pretty exceptional, but it's not uncommon. That's what's so really incredible about, I think, being part of a CEO peer group that really works on making you better.
Well, here's an example. Vistage has incredible data about this. One is companies in an industry that are part of Vistage grow 2.2 times faster than companies in that industry who are not a Vistage company. Number
Hmm.
two, for the 2 years after companies join Vistage, their growth rate is 2.8 times the growth rate for the 2 years before they joined Vistage. Now, let's take our growth rate 42%, 15% per year to 42%. Divide 42% by 15%, you get 2.8,
2.8
meaning
times, exactly.
we were average.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
And it was true for almost everybody in our group, really fast growth.
Well, John, you've been a speaker for Vistage for over 23 years. And tell us about that experience and what you've seen. What changes have you seen in groups and in Vistage in that period of time?
Well, back in the beginning, hardly any company used an aptitude assessment to get the right people on the right seat on the bus. Now, and I'll ask, it's sort of my presentation, I'll ask everybody who's using it. Now it's about 30%. One
Hmm.
in three companies are doing it. And what's shocking to me is it's only 30. It was known for like 10% to 30%. It's shocking to me that only a third of the companies in Vistage are actually using an aptitude assessment uh, to hire people. And here's some background. We all know from good to great, where the big study of all these companies that actually got from good to great, a big part of it was, as Jim Collins would say, get the right people on the right seat on the bus based on natural talent. Secondly, a book came out called Helpful. A second book came out about this, and it's probably the best HR book I've ever written. And the name of the
Hmm.
book is, it's essentially by the Gallup organization. And
Hmm.
the name of the book is First Break All the Rules.
First break
And
all the rules. Okay.
it's a book about how to be a great manager.
Yeah,
It's kind of a
I'm pretty
funny.
good at breaking all the rules, so I must be a great manager, is all I can
Me
see.
too. I never been a rule. I just want to break.
Beg for forgiveness, right, John?
A couple of my daughters are rules girls, but I'm not. I'm not a rules
Oh,
guy.
wow.
Anyway, so the book is all about how to be a great manager. It's kind of a funny title, First Break All the Rules. What it means
Yeah.
is what you might have thought it takes to be a great manager ain't necessarily so.
Mm,
First rule, find out what people are good at and put them in that job.
there you go.
Second rule, more important, find out what people are not good at and don't try to fix them. Don't try to make an account manager a hunter. It isn't going to work. And
That sounds
now,
so fundamentally simple, but apparently it's very difficult to do.
so here's how it goes downhill from here. So both McKinsey and Gallup, big global consulting firms, have done studies worldwide about what percent of your employees are really engaged. And by really engaged, they mean they love the job. Everybody around
Hmm.
them loves them being in that job. The manager loves them being in that job. It's just great, great, great. And so both of these consulting companies separately did these studies, and the global data is globally only 18% of employees are engaged. In the US, it's 20,
18%, John?
only 18%. And in the US, it's 21%. So then the both consulting companies separately said, how can this be? And so they kind of peel back the onion to find out why. And they both came up with the same answer, basically, and that is kids come out of high school or college, they get a job, it's an okay job, they like it okay, the manager thinks they're doing okay, people around them are okay with them being in that job, but they're not passionate about the job. They're not staying late if they have to. They're not thinking
Right.
creatively about how to improve the company. They're not doing what they would do if they were really engaged. And so the answer to this is don't hire people unless you're using an aptitude assessment so you can get them on the
Right.
right seat on the bus. and have a whole company full of engaged employees.
I know that Asher Sales has what's called APQ, which is state of the art. I mean, Asher Sales have trained over 80,000 salespeople around the world and for years, and has an incredible track record. And APQ assessment is highly regarded. Tell us a little bit about that, John.
Well, it's kind of funny. In France and Germany, you can't use them
Oh,
because
really?
they're basically socialist um,
Hmm.
companies, countries, and it's against HR to actually figure out what people are good at because it's
That's amazing
discriminating.
because, yeah, the idea
Yeah.
that it's not up to the company to decide who it hires. If it's in a socialist situation, then whoever applies, you can basically hire. It doesn't matter if they meet all your criteria or not. If they are there for the job, then it's your job as the owner to hire them. Is that what you're saying, John?
That's pretty much what they're saying.
Hmm.
It's pretty crazy, really.
Well, you
So
think
the
about, yeah, if you were a coach of a ball team, you would love to coach against a team that had that philosophy because you would pick the best players and, you'd have a winning season every year and they'd be struggling to just, show up. It's amazing. Now, you've seen a lot of changes in peer groups. You know a lot about peer groups. You speak to different peer groups. What do you see as a difference maybe between Vistage and other peer groups that are out there?
well, when Vistage headquarters asks Vistage members, what are you getting out of the group? What do you like the best? Number one is the peer group. And that is you've got 15 other CEOs from all various industries, and they have a lot of experience. And so when you bring your decision or your opportunity or your aspiration or your challenge to the group, you're getting input from 15 different top performing CEOs.
Hmm.
And so it's just an incredible benefit. Number two is the expert speakers. And as you know, Vistage has a winnowing way to determine the best speakers, and that is you got to get high grades. And so if you get high
Right.
grades, you're continuing as a speaker. If you don't, then you're not. So you're really getting the cream of the crop of the speakers worldwide.
Hmm.
And then number three is the coaching that you get from the chair. And when you look at speaking of ROI that you mentioned, if you're a CEO of say a $10 million company, and you hired an executive coach to coach you for the year, that is typically much more expensive than the fees for Vistage for the year. So
Oh,
the
yeah. Yeah.
ROI from Vistage is just so phenomenal.
I like to think in terms of this is that you can have a consultant and you can spend the time with them. And history has shown that, uh, I was talking to one of our Vistage speaker, Don Chimke, and Don was saying that what happens with individual consultants for CEOs or for individuals is that there's an intensive period of learning it. There's a period of which the consultant steps away and it's kind of like a counsel to kind of keep you on pace. And then a year or two later, it's like, well, what's the next consultancy I can, what, it's not working. I need something new. You talk to the provider of the information, the consultant, and so, well, you didn't follow my principles. You didn't follow my rules. What I love about Vistage, like you said, John, you can go to a meeting and there's 15 CEOs in there, and maybe they've had this consultant, or maybe they know about this, and they go, oh no, here's the way you do this. What I love is the shared knowledge and experience of the people in the room that make the most sense because it's from people a trusted source. And Vistage started, 67 years ago, actually 60, I think yeah, 68, 69 years ago. And it just gets better and better every year. And people love, as you pointed out, it's that peer interaction of people that you care about, they care about you. And as we say in Vistage, what stays in that room, it's said in that room stays in that room, which is critically important. And that gives you that one day a month where you can, share your thoughts, your dreams, your aspirations, your concerns, and people that care about you will answer and they are peers. And that's the whole idea behind it.
I don't know about that confidentiality. I was flying into Vegas recently, And the flight attendant came on and said, just remember now, what happens in Vegas ends up on TikTok.
Well, these days it does. Well, let's go back to sales, John, and in this world of and alternative intelligence, technology, program systems, LinkedIn, you name it. Everybody knows everything about everything. We can analyze everything. How are you looking at that from a sales standpoint? What's happening in the world of sales?
Which I'll give you the answer to that question, but also it relates to your previous question about a signal
Okay.
consultant. And that is Tony Robbins wrote a book about longevity. And he wrote it with two very prestigious longevity doctors. And one of the things they said in their book is if a doctor, a specialist like a cardiologist, isn't continuously staying up to date in their field, they are out of date in 6 months.
In 6 months.
So now you can do that. You can take that same idea to consultants and CEOs.
Wow.
If they're not staying up to date with everything that's going on in their field, they're out of date in 6 months. So now you take a consultant advising a CEO who's out of date and compare that to a Vistage chair with 15 CEOs.
Oh yeah,
Just
exactly.
no comparison.
And you make it reminds me of our latest couple of meetings on AI. And we have all of our members are engaged at one level or another of AI. Some of them have really embraced it and they're applying it to their company. Some are just at the beginning stages, they're curious and they're kind of doing it on their own. But boy, the exchange of information in that meeting, like you need to do this, don't do this, understand this, work this, it is very powerful. And so keeping current, on your own versus keeping current with 15 other people that are trying to keep current as well, and they're willing to share that information and make you the best use of that. That's very powerful. That's really incredible stuff. I love that.
I'll give you a quick example. I've been a strategic planner, facilitator for 30 years. I don't do a lot of it, but mainly for
Hmm.
companies who want to grow fast. And so this is a $130 million company in Loveland, Colorado. And I was going to go out and do their strategic plan, facilitator. And they sent me all the business plan, the marketing plan, the environmental scan, all the normal stuff you would see in a 2-day offsite. And that's what I've always done, 2-day offsite. So I put all their information into Gronk and also into chat and asked for a strategic plan. And neither one of them gave a vision. So I asked for a vision. So I kept doing prompts to get it better and
Right.
better and better.
What you had prompts the idea of keep challenging your AI to give you better answers.
Right. And when Gronk would do something, Chad didn't. So I got them both to agree in the end. And so there was a vision, right? Where we're going as a company, the mission, what are we doing, core
Hmm.
companies, core values, 6 strategic goals for the year. And so I emailed it to the CEO and said, I don't think we're going to need the 2 days. I think we can get this done, starting with this in about a half a day. He emailed back and said, I think you're right.
Wow.
So AI took us
Impressive.
from a 2-day offsite to a half-day offsite. Just an
That's,
example.
that's an incredible thing. The time saved. I'll give you an example. You're probably familiar of the term that I'm becoming more familiar with in the last several months is agents and what they call agentic AI. One of our
Right.
speakers, Peter Fuller, you probably know Peter, and
Yep.
Peter has a solar company, former Vistage member himself, Vistage chair, and a Vistage speaker on AI. And in his solar company, you could call in if you were a potential client, give your address, share your energy statement, what you were paying for your electric and so forth, and then maybe a footprint of your place and location, and then the laws administration. So you could call his solar company. Representatives would do that work, research it in a couple of days, and then get back with a proposal. Well, everything worked smoothly. It would take a couple of days maybe to get that done. Got the right person, kept the same person involved. You could send the information. And if they didn't do it right, it might take a week, but a proposal would eventually go out to the potential client. Peter came to our meeting and said, here's how I used an agent in AI to do all the steps along the way. There were like 8 or 9 of them, maybe 10. That whole process turned in from 2 days to as much as a week. You won't believe this, John. 10 seconds. 10 seconds, yeah. That the AI agent could do that for him. He said, now that didn't mean that I terminated anyone, not at all. But he said that meant I didn't have to hire 2 more people. And that was the savings there. So it's a brave new world. Let me ask you this question. Do you envision a time in which AI will replace salespeople?
Well, to give you an example, I mean, what you just said, companies are not essentially hiring more people now. They're essentially, I mean, they're not laying people off. They're not, and they're hiring,
Yeah,
but they're
but
not
they're just
hiring
not
more
hiring.
people.
Yeah.
So there's always been a statement like this: white collar people with AI tools will replace white collar people without AI tools. That statement has been replaced with this: white collar people who are experts in AI will replace white collar people who are not. So
Wow.
what that
Wow.
says to me, and by the way, I'm a part of SHRM, the big HR company,
Yeah. I know.
and one of the things you'll see happening in large companies is a lot of reskilling going on with people to reskill them to use AI
Hmm.
tools and assistants and agents like you were talking about. And so they're exiting people who can't be reskilled. So what you're going to see in the future, in my view, is not so much salespeople replaced, but a much fewer number of really top salespeople that know how to
Hmm.
use all the AI tools. That's the projection I'm seeing.
Well, John, it is, as Aldous Huxley said, a brave new world out there in many, many
Right.
ways. And hopefully not in the vision that he saw, but in a good vision, the way I think that you see things, John.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
as a Vistage chair, adding new members is one of the responsibilities we have. Our average member probably stays in 5.5 to 6 years, but we have members that have been in 20 years and longer. And some people just kind of feel like that's their one special day a month. They don't ever plan to leave. But for a chair like myself, what 2 or 3 things would you say to a potential CEO about why to become a Vistage member?
Well, number one would be essentially the value of the peer group. And if you can imagine, the CEO job is a lonely job.
Hmm.
You can have relationships in the company, but you can't have friends because they know you can fire them.
Right.
So number one, to be able to have 15 new friends at the CEO level, a tremendous gift. I left my group 23 years ago when we sold the company. 2 of the former members I play golf with. Another one I'm in an every other month poker group with. A couple of them always have a Christmas party, invite all the former members. So it's just a lifetime gift to have friends at the
Hmm.
CEO level. Um, Number two, increasing revenue. Almost every CEO gets it, is a good thing. It
Hmm.
it solves a lot of problems. It covers up a lot of mistakes. So
Hmm.
being able to get that advice from the chair and the group to grow revenue is always a really important thing for CEOs. And that's essentially what Vistage is all about. Vistage is about growth, the growth of your revenue, the growth of your profitability, and the growth of your own professional leadership skill. And almost every CEO gets it about growth, and that's what Vistage is really all about.
You know what I love about it as well, John, is the fact that in my members, I see such change, the change in their leadership styles. People come in with a background of this is how I am as a leader, this is how a good leader is, based either on just what we call family of origin, what they learned growing up. And many people growing up in a business have that's the way my dad did it, my uncle, my great grandfather, whatever. And then you have some people who've gone to school, and this is what Harvard says, or this is what, University of North Carolina says, what the Naval Academy says about being a leader. But it changes over time, and you change over time, and not one style fits every person. You have to have a great deal of adaptability. And the workforce keeps changing, and the people that show up
Right.
keep changing. That's why I really love your Azure Sales Assessment, APQ, because we can cut through all that and get to the basics of how people present themselves, what they believe in, and how they'll fit in with the team. So I think that your concept of being a Vistage member is about growth personally and growth in your business and the ability to meet change. I mean, I think you pointed out before to people I've talked with, we have like 19 different networks within Vistage. Tell us a little bit about how you see the networks from Vistage.
Let's say you have a software product and you want to sell it in the Netherlands. You can reach out to a network and find 3 Vistage members in the Netherlands who will help you. Either
Exactly.
find you an agent or help you help you with whatever it takes to sell that software in the Netherlands. If you want to set up a distribution center in eastern Jamaica,
Mm,
then you can email members in Jamaica, and they'll help you find it. So those are just 2 examples of what networks can do worldwide.
mm.
And as we know, this is now in, I forget the number, Bill, you know better than me, but I think it's 37 countries with 45,000 CEOs.
Yeah, 45,000 members in right now over 40 countries. And as members of our You're Not Alone podcast will see that Vistage started in 1965, with 7 senior citizens like you and me who will never die, by the way, according to John Asher. And that has grown to 45,000 in over 40 countries. And the networks are a key part of what we do. I love the fact that my member can go into a network about AI, going about HR, going about sales, going about strategic planning, whatever. And one of the things I really love about Vistage, and I like your comments on it as well, is that we have our transaction center, which can value your business for you as part of your membership. And that alone is probably worth $5,000 a year for most members. 92%, 92% of business owners do not know the value of their business. Truly, they have a guesstimation, they have an aspiration number, but they really don't know the number. We provide that. And then we just rolled out this year our strategic planning initiative. And strategic planning is for the buzzwords of being a leader, vision, mission, strategic planning, execution, all that. Well, this is no nonsense. This is down in the weeds, 3-year long plan guided by Visage step by step, the right people, the right message along the way, with some intense thinking and support from the Visage community and your peer group. To me, that's the price of admission alone, just to know what you're worth, what your opportunity, your product, your pricing is for your product and your service. And as some of our speakers said, are you completely aligned, giving the right message? It's understood. And you provide a service or a product that people willingly purchase. You don't sell it to them, they purchase it, and you're completely satisfied. I think Vistage offers that kind of opportunity for our members, and that's something I'm very proud of. And John, any parting thoughts here from you? Because we're about ready to wrap up.
I'll give you a good sales tip.
Hmm.
There is we've all heard of active listening and passive listening. Passive means you're listening just enough to start talking to the customer and selling
Right.
something.
I'm very guilty of
Active
that, by the way.
listening means no, keep on asking questions until you really know what they want. Perfect listening, where is our trademark technique, is 3 steps. Be an active listener. Second, ask permission to take notes and take notes. There are 8 reasons to take notes and 6 reasons to ask permission. Only 10% of salespeople ask permission to take notes. And now imagine you've written down 13 things about what the customer said. how tempting would it be to start offering? You know exactly what they mean. And we've solved
Oh
that
yeah.
problem before.
Hmm.
The third technique, summarize and feed it back to the customer until they agree you've got it right.
I
Only
love it.
2% of salespeople use that third technique. And when you use all three techniques to be the perfect listener, the customer now wants you to get the job. And they'll start feeding you all this information they know you need to know to get to work. But just one interesting, classic, fairly new sales technique, be a perfect listener. Not a perfect listener, that's bad. And a step up from active listener.
Would you repeat those steps again, John? I really love that because it
So
makes a ton of sense.
be an active listener, keep listening and asking questions till you really understand it. Ask permission to take notes. And again, there's 8 reasons to take notes, 6 reasons to ask permission, and 3, summarize and feed it back. As many times as it takes to get agreement from the customer that you have it perfectly right. Now, all this research shows from the alliance of all these sales training courses at all these various universities, now the customer actually wants you to get the job. And they'll start feeding the salesperson all the information they know that the salesperson needs to know to get the job and execute brilliantly for them.
You know, I
Perfect
love that
listening.
because yeah, I love that because what it means is that I have been heard. If you're the client or prospect, I have been heard. And as Philippe Boissou, one of our speakers, and you know Philippe,
I do.
says in Aligning the Dots, it's message and perception. And oftentimes salespeople are all about my message, and whether or not you perceive or not, but I feel good because I said my message. No, I should say my message and wonder. And the only way I can find out is if you give it back to me, did you perceive what I was talking about? That's so incredibly important.
Agree. You know, we have a little joke in our company. It's the
Okay.
sales training company. One of us will ask another, "Are you a salesperson?" And they'll say, "Well, no." And then you'll ask, "Well, what are you?" And they'll say, "I'm a problem solver." And so to be a problem solver instead of a salesperson takes a
There you
different
go.
mindset. It takes a different mindset.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Well, John Asher, you are this the best. I love you being on my You Are Not Alone. And people should not be alone and should reach out to John Asher. How do they get in touch with you, John?
Well, just go to the website, asherstrategies.com, or if you're interested in longevity, asherlongevity.com.
AsherStrategies.com or AsherLongevity.com. And you will be a better person for it. I know that will be happening. I know I've reached out to you many, many times. I can't thank you enough, and I hope our viewers will be reaching out to you. And I know I will see you probably at Chair World in San
I'll be
Diego.
there.
Looking forward to that and
Me too.
catching up. So live long and prosper, young man.
Yes, sir. Great to
Naval
chat, Bill,
salute,
as
sir. Yes,
always.
sir. Take care.
All right.
Hi, John.
Bye.